Hello, everybody. Welcome back to PC's Playbook. This is, I guess, my playbook. Um, Today I will be doing my quick, reaction and review to the Hall of Fame game last night, first football game in 6 months. Panthers Cardinals, absolute banger of a game. By the way, I mean I stayed up to watch it and did not disappoint. I mean it's probably the best preseason game I've ever watched because preseason is usually not very exciting, but this game was very exciting. A lot of good things come, especially from the Panthers side. I'm mainly going to be only reviewing the Panthers in this game. I mean, Carson Beck and a lot of the Cardinals players did great, but if you have seen my podcast, I'm a Panthers podcast mostly. So I'll be going over that, such as the Haynes King versus Kenny Pickett problem, and also, new play calling on the Panthers side. So let's get into it. A lot of good came from this preseason game. A lot of really good, young players that we're seeing for the first time play in a Panthers uniform. But also there was a bit of bad, which I like to cover first before going into the good stuff. The bad was, I would say, the defense. Even though it's preseason and you can't really read too much into it, stopping the run has been a big problem for the Panthers in the last few years. And, even stopping the pass we couldn't do, but stopping the run especially, it seemed like early on mostly, but also even when you got later, the run was a big problem defensively, and we couldn't really stop it, leading to the Cardinals getting 30 points. But also, you can't read into it too much. Princely and Lee Hunter and those main defensive players, Will Lee and them, didn't play much past the first quarter, but even in the first quarter, the run was really working well for the Cardinals. Also, not great is our rotation of wide receivers is a bit odd. I feel like I really would have loved to see more of Jassim Reed in this game. We got to see a lot more of Jimmy Horn, and I feel like he's already kind of gotten his minutes. He's kind of gotten his play time. We know he's probably, he might not make the team. There's definitely a possibility that these guys like Jassim Reed and Bryson Tremaine can step up and make it over him. But Jimmy Horn is a guy that we don't need to be seeing for the fourth quarter of a preseason game when it's usually a bunch of fourth strings. But Jassim Reed we saw for 2 drives, and he scored a touchdown. He's had a lot of hype coming up to him during training camp that he's been really good, and he scored on his first or second drive. And so I feel like I would have liked to see more of him, but there's 3 more weeks of preseason and we're playing in all of them. We get 4 games, unlike other teams get 3. So we're going to see more of him, definitely, and I hope he has a really good preseason, and I hope he makes a team because I really like how he's been getting, hyped up during training camp. He looks like he can be a real contributor in the future for us. But I would like to have seen more of him and less of Jimmy Horn. I feel like John Mechie also played a lot. He was good. He was great. But also I feel like he's been proven he'll be our wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. He's a proven NFL player at that, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 position. We don't need to see anything more from him. We know what he can be. We don't know what these other guys can be, and I'd like to see more of them. Now, there wasn't much bad things that happened from this game. I kind of just covered the basic, coaching stuff. But a lot of it was really good. I think on the offensive side of the ball, of course, Haynes King was absolutely incredible. Kenny Pickett was all right. He kind of just looked like Kenny Pickett. We know how he can be. But Haynes King looked really good out there, and he looked really strong and confident out there, and that can be a really good piece for us. If Bryce gets hurt, you want to have someone who's confident behind the center so you can have still a good offense while your quarterback is hurt. Also, I think I'm going to put out there I'm not sure if it's Joe Milton or these other backup quarterbacks that they have a good preseason, they get a few snaps after their quarterback gets hurt, and then they have a confident start here, and then we can trade him for a 4th or 5th round pick. If we can flip an undrafted rookie like Haynes King for some picks, that would be huge. So that made me really confident last night seeing him play. There are some questions about his accuracy. He had that touchdown or possible touchdown to Jimmy Horn that he missed very wide open in the I think it was 3rd or 4th quarter. He had some throws that are a bit low, he had wanted to Jassim Reed on his first drive. And the accuracy is definitely a problem, but his legs are, huge. He can use his legs the way he did. And also he had some great throws to combat those more bad throws. Running backs wise, we had a lot of good rotation. We didn't really run the ball that much, which I'm happy about. We have a new play caller, Brad Idzik. So it's really good to see him kind of extend the playbook for the young guys like Haynes King and see them adapt to it quickly. I thought last year there might have been a bit too run heavy of an offense, especially after Bryce had, a really good start of the season, or a really good start to the. He didn't have a great start, but that first 6 week span when we were 3-3, 4-3, he had a really good start, and then we kind of just leaned into the run heavy. Every other week it'd be run heavy, and those would be the every other week that we lost. And it seemed like that was a bit, the offense was kind of stagnant. But with Idzik, at least 1 week into preseason, it looks like a bit more creative. I mean, we saw those plays where it was really creative, getting Jimmy Horn wide open for a touchdown that, Haynes King missed. But getting these really creative plays that can get guys really open and have a really easy offense, which I do love to see. If Bryce was playing, that would have been a touchdown, which is good to see. But running backs, there was a lot of rotation. It was good. We saw A.J. Dillon get some snaps, get a touchdown. That was really good. He'll be a good number 3, number 4 option. I don't think Trevor Etienne or Trevor Etienne, I don't know. He hasn't earned the right for me to call him his actual name after that playoff buff. But I don't think he's going to get much playing time. He probably shouldn't. I mean, we have 3 running backs better than him now that are proven to be better than him. And he also, hasn't been the greatest returner. And we also saw Jasim Reed return a kick in the fourth quarter, and that looked really good. And Jimmy Horn, we have guys that should be playing over Trevor Etienne that just aren't. And I hope that they will once the actual season comes to, actually happen. I think Trevor, he had one good game against the Dolphins last year, and after that, it was really nothing. And I think he just needs to improve a lot more to me. For the wide receivers, like I talked about earlier, very, huge rotation, 12 guys, I think, played. It was a big rotation. But the one I was mostly looking for was Jasim Reed, as he's getting a lot of hype in training camp. Undrafted free agent, I think, from the UFL. Didn't get drafted last year, of course, but he had a really good game. His first target was a drop, but it wasn't an easy catch. It was low on him. Haynes King didn't have a great throw, but he got in his groove. I think he had 2 catches, 30-ish yards and a touchdown. And that's kind of what you want to see when he doesn't have many snaps. It's kind of what you want to see. Also got some kick returns in, like I said. That's the biggest thing for me was that he looked good, and his fight for a roster spot is against guys like Jimmy Horn, who had an okay game. He had a lot of targets, had a drop or 2, I think, but also one of those drops also came from a Haynes King bad pass. But he's fighting against Jimmy Horn, David Moore, who I don't think I saw him out there, I think, but he didn't really do much. And last night he was the winner of that battle between those 3. It was him. Besides that, the receivers were, pretty good. John Mechie, but nothing I haven't really covered yet. It was not that much. It was a one player being outstanding. It was just a huge rotation. For the tight ends, you kind of have to say the same thing. JT Sanders, who is, I guess, our backup now, that he's starting this in the preseason. Tommy Tremble is taking that starting job over again. When he was rookie, he was kind of Tremble, and then last year he was supposed to take over Tremble's job, and then now it's back to being Tremble, which I'm not too happy about, that we kind of have this 2 mid tight ends going back and forth. But he had an okay game. He didn't play that much. He played the first drive, and he had a few dump down passes, which we know he can do. Didn't hurdle anyone, which I was disappointed about. He always tries doing that. But I just feel if we're not going for Zach Ertz, or we're not going for these tight ends in the market, we didn't go for David Njoku, I don't feel confident with our tight ends right now, because we've had the same tight end this is our 3rd year of having the same 2 tight ends in this room. And it's really hard to kind of have confidence in them when it's just, they're not trying to improve it. And they're not improving much because they're kind of at their peak. I don't see JT getting much better than having a 400-yard season. Tremble, he's a good red zone option. He's a good dump down option. But he really, outside of NFC South games where he randomly does well, he does well against the Falcons and the Bucks. It's hard to see him as a true tight end 1. The O-line was all right. We got a lot of rotation again. I'm not sure if Monroe Freeling even played. I don't think he did. I was looking for him, and they didn't really show much of the O-linemen, but I didn't see a random white dude out there, so I do not think he played. But overall, O-line was okay. There's not really much to review there. I did see like the best thing from the O-line was on I believe it was AJ Dillon's touchdown. It was Chandler Zavala had a really big leading block, which is huge from him. And I think he was a 5th round or something like late round pick a while ago for us, about like 2 or 3 years ago. And he's not really come into form yet as like a true guard for us. And we kind of had to replace him with Robert Hunt now as a backup. But we have a lot of injuries in the O-line. As you remember from last year, we had a ton of injuries. And I'd love to see him doing well and kind of coming into his role as a really good backup, and I would love to see him do well this year because he'll get snaps with our amount of injuries we have. So that block was the one thing I've got from the O-line last night, was that he had a good block for AJ Dillon. Besides that, they were okay. I mean, there are a few sacks, a few TFLs, but that's going to happen in the preseason. Now officially moving to the other side of the ball, the defensive side. The defense also, preseason it's hard to review because it's so much rotation. But there are a few things that I really can review. Starting with the D-line, first drive, we saw Princely Monmielen and I believe Lee Hunter also played, and they had nothing. So, like, those are the two guys that I'm really looking for. Like, Lee Hunter could be a starter by probably week 3 if he starts playing well in this interior defensive line. There's not much besides Derek Brown. And Princely Monmielen should be a starter week 1 after Nick Scorton is out for the season. So those two, I was looking for like a sack or a TFL, but nothing really happened on that like first drive. The one position group I am really looking at is the cornerbacks, because every year it seems like there's a new cornerback in the preseason that goes off. Last year's Corey Thornton. This year, Corey Thornton, this game did not look good. Corey Thornton not only allowed a touchdown in the goal line, but also allowed a few easy catches and didn't look like as sharp as he did last preseason. Then he did have a pretty bad injury last year, but if you're fighting for that cornerback 3 job with Will Lee, Shaw Smith Wade, and Corey Thornton, it's hard to kind of convince the team that you're going to be that guy if you're doing that. But those other two, Shaw Smith Wade had not many snaps, but he had a PI called on him, and he didn't do great. Will Lee was kind of inconsistent. The one thing he can do is tackle. He can tackle really well, but you don't need that from a cornerback. You need him to cover. And he had, I think, a pass deflection early on, let up a big catch or two, which was not great, but besides that, looked pretty good and pretty confident. And I think he will be our like nickel, or like, third cornerback behind Mike Jack and JC. But I would like for him to be starting in the next week preseason game to see more of him. As well as, safeties, Lathan Ransom, who is, I guess, a backup behind Nick Scott and Trayvon Merrick, but I really want him to start over Nick Scott. Ransom looked like an actual safety. Yesterday, he laid someone out, like boomsticked him, which was insane. And it wasn't even a penalty, too. It was a clean hit. The penalty was on, like, a Caleb Evans, who was terrible. But, like, he laid someone out. Like, that was a safety move. That was a... Like, I really like to see that, because he last year didn't really lay anyone out. He kind of just like was a coverage player and had a sack. I think he had a sack versus Baker Mayfield, and also picked off Baker Mayfield. I'm not sure if the sack was against the Bucs, but he had a good game against the Bucs no matter what. But he was mostly just like a good like coverage player and good behind Trayvon Merrick to give him a break. But also alongside Trayvon Merrick, they were really good together. I think that's a combo I want to see this year, is less Nick Scott and more Lathan Ransom. He had I think 1 or 2 like kind of coverages that he kind of blew. Like him and Will Lee had there was a 10-yard catch that they were both nearby, but then they wrapped him up because they're both good tacklers. But I would like to see a lot more of him this preseason and this season, alongside Trayvon Merrick and not like behind Trayvon Merrick. The other safeties were all right. I'm not even sure who else played. Maybe I'm not even sure if Demai Richardson's still on the team, but he probably played. Linebackers, I liked what I saw from, I think, Jackson Kawach. I liked what I saw from him. Zakee Wheatley, I believe was the one. I'm not sure if it was Zakee Wheatley or Jackson Kawach. Both were late round draft picks this year, rookies. But I think it was Zakee Wheatley. Forced a fumble. The broadcasters thought it was Shaw Smith Wade that did it, but it was not. If you look at the game, it was Zakee Wheatley. We didn't get the fumble, but he did force one, which was, good to see from the rookie in his first preseason game. So that was really good from the linebackers. Those are the only two I was really looking at, was Wheatley and Kuwach, because they're both, new. I wasn't really looking at Claude and Shirless. I wasn't really looking at, Bam Martin Scott. Like, those guys, we've seen them play. They're not that great, but we have not seen these two play, and they look good. But like, overall, I've covered all the positions now. Overall, it's a bit hard to really react to this with the amount of rotations going on in a preseason game. But there was a lot of good, especially from, the opposite side of the ball, with Haynes King looking good, and then, Zakee Wheatley, I think was, if you got to go to our best players, it was probably Haynes King, Jasim Reed, John Mechie, Lathan Ransom when he played, and probably Zakee Wheatley just because he had that forced fumble. Which, those are 5 that you really want to see doing well. Those are 5 new additions to the team, except for Lathan Ransom, who is, I guess, new to a position, as he's going to kind of start switching positions from strong to free safety, because he's going to be trying to play a lot more with Trayvon Merrick instead of behind Trayvon Merrick. So it'll be like 5 people who you think are going to be in a new situation, really. And also 3 rookies. So that's good to see all of that from those 5. The bad, Corey Thornton, the defensive play calling, and kind of the whole of the tight ends. But those are 3 things that can definitely be improved, especially the defensive play calling. It's just a preseason game with a bunch of rotation. You're kind of evaluating. Tight ends, you can't really improve that, really. I lied. But Corey Thornton, I think, is not something I'm going to worry about too much, especially now we have Will Lee, and Shaw Smith-Wade's been doing better. So, yeah, it's definitely not something that's going to be too prioritized for the coaches to be worrying about Corey Thornton, but it is something that you wish you did better in that game. That's all I've got for this. It's a shorter episode. I just went through all the positions and talked about everyone that did well and didn't do well in the preseason game. I'm sorry if I talk too fast. I'm just excited about football coming back. It is a very exciting part of the year. We're back. You'll be seeing a lot more of me, especially when the Panthers are playing. But yeah, we're back, baby. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.